Hello and welcome to Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park. My name is Ranger Amanda and I'm standing in Activity Area 1, an open field surrounded by wooded area, and behind me is actually the rail line that connects the city of Atlanta to Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, Atlanta is known as a major hub of transportation. It has the busiest airport in the world. Many industries here are known throughout the world, and we even have state-of-the-art universities where many people from all over the country as well as the world come to learn and study in various fields of technology and transportation, medical aspects, just a large variety of topics that people come to these universities to study. Now, what I'm actually going to talk about today is going to be the rail line that you see behind me. Known originally as the Western Atlantic, it is going to connect the area of Georgia, of North Georgia specifically, to the west. That was its main goal, specifically linking up to the river and Ross Landing that is going to eventually be known as Chattanooga. Now, with the American Industrial Revolution, you're going to have citizens moving further west, and rail industry is going to be the primary transportation needs for that. Before that, you're going to end up having to move by boats and river transportation. But the problem with Georgia is if you connect Augusta, Georgia and Columbus, Georgia, you're going to end up having what's known as the fall line. And rivers south of those areas is navigable, but anything north of that is really not navigable, and so they're going to need to move trade by different methods. In the early to mid 1800s, you're going to have steam locomotive become that aspect of transportation they're looking for to move industry out to the west. In 1833, you're going to have the first rail line from Charleston, South Carolina to Augusta, Georgia. By the 1830s into the 1840s, you're then going to have this movement even further west. In the late 1830s, you're going to have in the state of Georgia the passing of legislation that is going to set up what we're going to know as the Western and Atlantic Railway. With that, it also establishes a small area that's going to be the end of the rail line 7 miles west of the Chattahoochee River that will eventually known as Atlanta. Originally known as Terminus, it meant the end of the rail line. Thereafter, it's going to end up having its name changed to Marthasville, and eventually by 1845, the city of Atlanta will be known as Atlanta. Now, it takes quite some time before the rail line is going to be established and have actual transportation moving along that, and it doesn't take place until May of 1850 before you have massive movement back and forth on that rail line itself. It becomes a major link in moving various trade goods back and forth between the river and the city of Atlanta in order to connect and get it out west and eventually to the Mississippi River as well, and making that transportation connection. Now, Atlanta grows fairly quickly. From 1845 until 1861, with the beginning of the American Civil War, you have a growth of roughly 9,000 residents within the city. During wartime, the city actually grows to 22,000 people. So by the time Sherman and his army reach the city in 1864, there's 22,000 residents in the city of Atlanta. And the majority of that is due to rail transportation. Of course, you have the rail line coming from Chattanooga, but also from Augusta towards Savannah, even Columbus, Georgia. And what's known as the Iron Triangle of these rail lines meeting in Atlanta makes it that major hub of transportation and economics. With that, it also makes it a major point where the military is going to come into play and what people are going to want to gravitate to in order to have control of this area within the country. Now, the Western Atlantic has a lot of history just into its own. So by 1861, it is a major thoroughfare up in Big Shanty, what's known as Kennesaw at some point in time that changes its name. It's going to have a troop camp, a soldier camp up there where they're going to train and get ready for war. By 1862, you have what's known as the Great Locomotive Chase. It's going to start in Marietta, where James Andrews and his men are going to board the train. They make it all the way to Big Shanty, steal the general, and then take off from there in order to destroy the rail line and make it not profitable for the Confederate troops. Well, William Fuller, the general, or not the general, the conductor on the general, is going to take out after Andrews and his men. Eventually, he's going to commandeer the Texas, and the men, part of the crew of the Texas, they're going to go after Andrews, and you have what becomes known as the Great Locomotive Chase. Andrews and his men are captured, and most of them are going to be tried as spies and will end up losing their life. Now, some of those men actually escape and are able to leave the area. Many of these men are going to actually receive the Medal of Honor, the first being awarded to the men of the Great Locomotive Chase. By 1863, you're going to have a lot of movement back and forth. It's going to be used by the military primarily, moving men, moving supplies along this area to get them to other portions of the country and be able to fight on other battlefields outside the state of Georgia. Of course, in 1864, war comes to Georgia full force with the Atlanta campaign. The Union and Confederate forces are going to follow the Western Atlantic rail line all the way to Atlanta. Sherman is going to be coming down the rail line. They're going to stay along the rail line for the most majority of the transition here, only leaving to go into Paulding County a little bit to fight around Dallas and New Hope, and then come back up to the rail line because the importance of supplies that they can get through that transportation. Now, Johnson is also going to be fighting for territory within that line. And he's going to have his men destroy portions of the line so that it will tie up Sherman. Now, by this point in time, the Union forces have a dedicated force that is going to be focused on the railroads in general. They're going to have engineers that are going to help with the maintenance of the rail, as well as moving locomotives and trains and support in that aspect. So Johnson's going to do whatever he can and have his men do whatever they can to stop the Union forces from advancing. Here at Kennesaw Mountain, it is even important to have control of the rail line. The Confederates set up on top of the mountain in order to really see the rail line, and they can have control with our artillery, and eventually it's going to move forward. Of course, you have the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain on June 27th, 1864. Johnson's troops cannot stay here forever. They end up leaving by the early part of July and get ever closer to the city of Atlanta. By September 2nd is when the city is actually going to fall to Union forces, and Sherman is going to keep control of the Western Atlantic. All the other rail lines that are leading into the city, he actually will destroy so that no one can come in, but he needs that major supply link on the Western and Atlantic. So he's going to keep that open. When they leave in November to go on the march to the sea, he will send troops back up the rail line in order to destroy it. Why, you might ask? Because the Confederates have gone up back into Tennessee, and Sherman doesn't want the Confederates to come in behind him and use that rail line for their benefit and come in behind him. So he'll have the railroad destroyed. Now, the Union will have possession of it until the end of the war, and by 1870, the rail line is fully operational again, being used by the state, moving people back and forth, as well as supplies and trade, and so it becomes a profitable industry for the state of Georgia once more. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, you're going to now have tourism be part of that. With the Dixie Flyer, people are going to come from Chicago, come right through this area and headed towards Florida for vacations on the Kennesaw and Battlefield routes. And so you're going to have an enjoyable time with people changing why they're using that line for vacations. Now, it is still a state-owned rail line. However, it has been through many different hands for leasing purposes. Today, you're going to have CSX be that major component here. You're still going to hear the train whistle blow from time to time as CSX takes trade up the line towards Chattanooga or down the line onto Atlanta. And so we have many railroads, trains and engines coming through here on a regular basis, and it's still a major component of the trade that goes through the city of Atlanta and Chattanooga itself. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the railroad here at Kennesaw Mountain. Stay tuned to our social media for more information, not only about trains, but also the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain and history of the surrounding area. Thank you so much, and we hope you have a great day.